QMedia's Engineering News and Mining Weekly is speaking to Graham Dunford, the CEO of Udaco Industries, and Mike Allnut, Udaco's executive consultant, on the absolutely awesome new face mask that the company has developed.
Martin, with this whole COVID thing, we had quite a lot of issues, as did many companies within South Africa. And we had quite a few of our businesses that had production and manufacturing facilities that couldn't work during the shutdown. And we had, at our Amco business, we had quite a lot of injection molding machines that were sitting idle, and we didn't really have anything for them to do. We then also had quite a few manufacturing businesses, and we also supply within the Udaco group to a lot of manufacturing businesses. And there was a shortage of face masks in the country. The other thing that happened is that quite a few people the prices were going, let's just say, out of control. Whereas a FFP2 mask, we were paying around between 3 and 4 rand for an FFP2 mask. They went up to 45 to 55 rand and higher for a mask, as people were looking for them. And what happened was that they were completely wiped out of these FFP2 masks because everyone just wanted a mask. When you couldn't get a normal mask, they went for the higher grade mask. The FFP2 masks are mainly used in the more difficult situations, mining, in foundries, in woodworking, where there's a lot of dust around and you have to have a proper filtration system. So a lot of those businesses also have to change their masks daily. And when you've got a couple of hundred or even 1,000 employees like they have on the mines, when you're changing masks that are costing you 55 rand each a day, it costs a lot of money. So Mike Allnut, who works in our Amco side, we asked him to please have a look at what he could do, how we could get our injection molding machines up and running, and whether we could develop a mask, but a mask that could have a filtration that was changeable in the front. And Mike will take you through what they've developed there. And what we wanted was a small little filtration system that you could change at very minimal costs. So we didn't go out there to try and rip everybody off and try and make an expensive mask. We tried to make a mask that we could change the filter on a daily basis, and we could get it out to as many people as possible.
The very big feature of the mask is how easy it is to breathe and how comfortable it is, notwithstanding the fact that every breath you take is a breath of clean, fresh air. And that's our motto with this mask. Every breath you take counts. And I can show you just a brief glimpse of the mask. And if I just show you very quickly, you can see that, the cartridge mechanism is removable. And this particular portion comes out like that. That's actually the filtration material and the cartridge. This is the nose piece. Okay, and the two just simply clipped together like this. And then it's very easily inserted back into the mask. Once again, you can see it just takes a few seconds to do. And there you go, it's done. And on the side, you can actually see the filtration system. You'll also notice some care was taken that the exhaust portion of it is facing backwards. You can see the slot here, so that there was no possibility of anything coming out the front. And internally, you can see the filtration material that's actually attached to the actual two exhaust valves. You have to filter all air that you exhale. It's about protecting those around you, but this mask obviously affords protection both ways. We had a discussion, through the lockdown period. I kind of guessed that this is a time to reflect, and we were looking at many different aspects of our business. And one of the things that obviously came to mind was the shortage of COVID masks, but also particularly around the whole perception about what mask would be suitable to wear in terms of our, towards our employees. I think what's important for us as a Udaco group is that we're quite mindful about the safety of our employees, and particularly at the fact that certain of our businesses were deemed to be essential services. And during the lockdown phase of 5, we had some of our businesses back in operation. What came across my mind in this discussion of making a mask was the very fact that cloth masks, there was a lot of confusion about cloth masks in a way. It was sort of deemed that if a cloth mask, if you held it up to the light and you didn't see any light, it would do the job. And therefore, that would be suitable. The problem with that kind of a mask is that there's no real timeline in terms of how long you should wear it. Nobody's saying to you a cloth mask is good, but you should only wear it for an hour or two. Problem is, employees are wearing those sort of for an 8-hour day, and needless to say, difficult to breathe through. And not only that too, there's a lot of condensation of moisture on the face side of the mask, or the mouth side of it, you should say. And of course, that's a bacterial problem. Not only that, very uncomfortable, because we found that a few of our employees were actually, in fact, getting a sort of a rash around the mouth area, from the moisture. So the next step was, what could we do whilst we would introduce a mask, something that would make, particularly easier for our employees in the workplace, to have a comfortable device where, importantly, they could breathe easily and feel, in the workplace that it was beneficial. So the idea was to come up with a half mask design. Half mask design meaning that we could actually injection mold it with a particular special material which would not have any impact in contact with the skin. And this half mask would allow a total barrier, a sealed barrier around the mouth area, the nose area, and around the chin, to prevent any possibility of ingress of droplets. Taking in mind that any air intake or breathability into the mask would be easy, but would all go via the intake of the filter, the filtration system. So the challenge was around the filtration system. We're not an expert on filters, so what would we do, to look at this as the heart of the mask? What we did is we actually managed to contact one of the leading filtration companies in South Africa, who were actually recommended by the health department in conjunction with recommendations by the WHO organization on the requirements for the filtration of droplets, which is pertaining to COVID-19. And as we know, we talk about droplets around a size of about 5 microns. And of course, this filtration company had already investigated this angle, and in fact had produced some of these face masks using their filtration material. So in a lot of discussion, we managed to work together with the filtration company for the supply of the filtration material. So the next step was we had the materials to make a mask, we had the materials for the filtration system, and now we had to put it together. But of course, in Judaica, we have a group of very competent people. I think for the best part, most of us in our business, because of the modality of the business we do, we have a strong engineering background. So we looked at the mask, from an engineering background, from practicality, and of course the half mask design is the way we were going. And in conjunction with that, we would then look at putting together a filtration system. Filtration system had to be simple. It had to be something that is practical and economical, and would not cost an arm and a leg. So we designed a cartridge type system, which actually houses the filtration material. And this cartridge would be inserted into the face of the mask, into the mouth area, which would clip into a double sealed area, which would then afford the actual intake and the filtration of the surrounding. Problem with every mask is that you breathe out. And when you breathe out, you're breathing out carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide needs to get out of that mask because it creates a pressure internally in the mask. And if you can't dispel that quickly, you're going to breathe in a certain amount of carbon dioxide into your system once again. And this is true to say because we've had quite a number of our employees complaining about headaches during the day. And we found that employees who are working on machinery, particularly, were subject to this particular problem. So what we decided to do is we decided to fit 2 exhaust valves into the mask, which would expel the pressurized carbon dioxide that's breathed out. But that's all very well to do because you can actually allow the air to be expelled. But in terms of the COVID-19, you can't just actually dissipate air in case the wearer could be having COVID-19. and therefore he could actually obviously infect those around him. So what we did is we actually put a filtration system into each individual exhaust valve. So the exhaust valves themselves are filtered. So all air that's exhaled goes via the two valves, which also helps with condensation. And that also creates a vacuum in the mask. So as you breathe out, and as the air is drawn out of these two valves, the oxygen or the surrounding air is automatically also then being pulled through the main filter. And of course, very easy to breathe and very easy to change filters. The filters can be actually cleaned and desanitized, or sanitized rather, and can be disinfected for a number of uses.
Have you put any of these into the market yet? Has any been sold?
Yes, we have done. We've had a very good response. I think before we've gone to market, we've been testing the water, and so far the companies that have purchased the masks have given us a very good feedback. And I think this was important for us because we needed to actually see if we needed to do any additional innovations prior to launching the product. And of course, we're now in a position where our manufacturing processes and assembly lines are actually set up, and we're now ready to to take a product to market.
And price-wise, is it competitive?
Absolutely. I think there's two aspects of the mask which make it competitive. One is that it's a non-disposable mask, which means that it has longevity. It can be washed without any real deterioration of the mask. And the other, of course, is the simple interchangeability of the filtering system. A lot of filters today with masks, they're not encapsulated in any way, they're loose. And anybody that has a loose piece of filter material in their hands trying to wash or clean it, I mean, you're going to damage that filter. I think what's very good about our mask is that the filter's protected by the actual cartridge, and therefore there's no physical contact that you have to make with the filter. And that makes it very simple to clean and refit into the mask. So from a price point of view, very competitive. I don't think that there's any product in the marketplace at the moment that compares with what we've done, because we innovated the product and are designed from scratch, and we never really took anybody's particular ideas into account. We did what we felt was the best to do, and because of that, we also never really went out of the way to sort of do a price comparison. But what we have found is that these masks are probably half the price of a similar type of mask out in the marketplace.
And are you looking only at the domestic market, or are you looking internationally for exports as well?
Well, I think we would like to market the product internationally without a doubt. We've had some interest out of Germany, and I think simply because if you look at the price of a cloth mask in places like Germany, a cloth mask would actually cost you more than the particular mask that we've designed and manufactured.